We're standing right on the edge of a huge shift in artificial intelligence. For years, we've thought of AI as this really smart tool that just answers our questions, right? But now, we're stepping into a whole new era. An era where AI doesn't just wait for you to type a command, it takes initiative and makes its own plans and acts. So, let's dive into this new frontier.
I mean, think about it. Right now, most of us use AI in a very back and forth way. You type a prompt, you get a response. It's an amazing tool for sure, but it's always waiting for that next instruction from you. But what if it didn't have to wait? What if you could give AI a really complex long-term goal, something like, hey, plan my entire 2-week vacation to Europe, find the best flights, book everything, and it just did it? That is the incredible leap we are talking about here.
And this new way of thinking has a name: agentic AI. The keywords here are everything: autonomous and goal-driven. This is not your standard chatbot. An agentic system, it understands a big picture objective, it breaks that down into smaller steps, and then it gets to work, executing that plan over time and even adapting as things change. It's a totally different way of interacting with technology.
So let's break this down. On one hand, you've got traditional AI, which is reactive. It's a tool that you pick up and use. You ask, it answers. Simple. But agentic AI, that's proactive. It's less like a hammer and more like a project manager that you delegate tasks to. It doesn't just respond, it actively goes after goals, managing complicated projects from start to finish, with you just checking in every now and then.
And believe me, this isn't just some sci-fi concept. Agentic AI is already being put to work in one of the most complex places you can imagine: our cities. Let's take a look at how these agents are kind of becoming the unseen architects of the world we live in.
Okay, let's start with something we all hate: traffic. Forget about traffic lights on fixed timers. Agentic systems are building a citywide nervous system for transportation. They're analyzing traffic flow in real time, dynamically rerouting cars, changing signals on the fly, and coordinating the whole network to cut down on congestion and make things safer. The goal isn't just to get one car through an intersection, it's to optimize the flow for the entire city. And that same idea applies to how we manage energy. These agents are turning our buildings into smart, responsive systems. An agent can look at sensor data, tweak the heating and cooling to save money without making you uncomfortable, and even talk to the city's power grid to help prevent blackouts. And get this, it can even predict when a piece of equipment might fail and schedule a repair before it actually breaks. This thinking then expands out to all kinds of public services, where these agents are helping city governments stop just reacting to problems. They can manage resources like water, automate tons of paperwork, and even use something called digital twins. Now, these are basically virtual copies of the entire city. It lets officials test out new policies in a simulation to see what would happen before they roll them out in the real world. We're talking smarter, evidence-based decisions. So these applications are incredibly powerful, right? But it does bring up a really big question. How does this stuff actually, work? What's going on under the hood that lets an AI plan, act, and learn all by itself? Well, at the very heart of it is a process called the agentic loop. It all starts with perception. The agent just takes in data from the world around it. Then it uses its memory, both short-term stuff and long-term knowledge. With that context, it moves on to planning, where it breaks down its big goal into smaller, doable steps. The fourth step is execution, where it actually uses tools to do things. And finally, and this part is so important, is reflection. The agent looks at what it did, analyzes its own performance, and learns from it for the next time. It's this continuous loop that makes agentic AI so powerful. It's a nonstop cycle of perceiving, thinking, acting, and learning. But trying to run this cycle over and over again in our messy, unpredictable world, well, that's not just a technical headache. It also opens up some pretty significant new risks that we absolutely have to face. Which brings us to the human side of all this. You see, when we give this much autonomy to a machine, we're essentially delegating decisions that have real-world consequences. And that forces us to ask some really tough questions about safety, about governance, and, who's really in charge? Governments are already starting to wrestle with this. This directive from the White House, for example, it sets a really clear bar. The benefits of using an AI system have to meaningfully outweigh the risks. This isn't just about making things more efficient, it's about a fundamental responsibility to make sure these tools are used safely. And the risks here are serious. They really break down into 4 big challenges. First up is accountability. If an autonomous agent messes up, who's to blame? Then you've got bias. If the AI learns from bad data, its decisions could end up being unfair or discriminatory. Security is another huge one, because these systems can be tricked or manipulated by feeding them bad data. And finally, there's transparency. The black box nature of these agents can make it nearly impossible to figure out why they do what they do.
And I want to be crystal clear. These are not just hypothetical problems for some far-off future. A recent analysis found that a whopping 78% of organizations already using these kinds of advanced AI systems have run into data safety issues. The privacy and security risks aren't on the horizon. They are here right now. So what do? The path forward has to involve serious human oversight. Good governance means we have to rigorously test these systems in the real world, actively hunt for and fix harmful biases, and, this is the big one, be willing to shut a system down if we can't stop it from causing harm.
So when you put it all together, what does it all mean? Well, we are witnessing a complete transformation. AI is evolving from a passive tool that we command into an active partner that we work with. A partner that is, right now, already starting to manage some of the most complex systems in our world.
And all of this leaves us with one last massive question to think about. As we hand over more and more of our world to these autonomous agents, we have to decide, when one of them acts for us, who is truly responsible for what happens next? The answer to that is going to define our future with this technology.